Again, Mr. Mayor, I apologize for coming to the meeting late, and I hope that you, Mr. Mayor, my fellow council members, and the audience here will bear with me if I have to repeat something that's already been said. And your points were all taken about the meeting last week. However, there was a specific question asked by one of the council people when Mr. Mills said that, made reference to some interest in the property. He didn't say that let's take this to auction because I know we can get more money, as Councilman Clough alluded to. I understand what Councilman Clough is saying. That's obviously a given. But we had someone in the community who was shown interest in the property. He had a plan for reuse of the property, and he had a plan to put the property back on the tax roll. In my opinion, that is our goal as a legislative body. Our goal is not to send this to auction and get an extra $50 or an extra $75, because someone could bid an extra $75 and not have a reuse plan for the property, so that doesn't make it viable. We had an individual who took the initiative to contact all of us, and quite frankly, Mr. Mayor, you almost made it sound like it was a bad thing that he lobbied the council to purchase the property. I saw that as a positive thing, and I saw that as him showing initiative, to be honest. In my past experience on the council, we've had a mixed bag. Most of the properties we have sent to sale, public sale, but we have arranged for other private sales. This body has, done that. Mm-hmm. So I know that that's something we can do. And I know that one of the council people asked the specific question to our city comptroller when he said, there's been interest. We've had calls on this property. There's been interest. And the question specifically was put, okay, how do you define interest? Did you get 2 calls, 5 calls, 50 calls? And Mr. Mills said, we've had 2 to 3 phone calls. Never did he say that a local business person had keys to the property, was going onto the property, had started some initial, please let me speak, and then certainly you'll have your opportunity, had some initial environmental work done, and had I known that, that certainly would have affected my vote last week. And I'm not sitting here right now saying I'm going to change my vote, but that certainly would have had an effect on my vote. Now, since the city manager just interrupted me, I'm assuming you're going to discount what I just said. Well, I'm saying this because that's what I was told by the mayor.
Well, I
so
think
certainly now will be the opportunity for us to lay this on the table if there has been interest beyond a couple of phone calls. And if so, I feel that it would have been incumbent upon city staff to inform this body before we made our decision.
I think that I indicated when Mr. Keogh contacted me that he had dealings with Parish Oil. That's how he had gained access and had done environmental work through them.
Quite frankly, you told me the city comptroller, Mr. Mayor.
Well, I said Mr. Keogh said that he had contacted the comptroller on several occasions. I was not there. I don't have empirical knowledge of it.
Well, no, but the fact that you made a phone call to me and told me that, I certainly...
Yeah, and I was relating to you Mr. Keogh's phone call to me, and he wrote a letter and...
And again, I'm sorry if I'm late and missed some information, so are you telling me, Mr. Mayor, that that's not the case now?
Well, I'm not here to be cross-examined. I'm merely
I'm not
saying...
here to cross-examine you. I would just like to find out what the situation was.
I'm merely saying that Mr. Keogh called me on the day after that action protesting the exclusion of that parcel from the auction.
Sure.
He said that he had been in discussions back when it was owned by Parish Oil about it. There had been a problem in them selling it because of a consent order with the DEC.
And it's my understanding it's still owned by Parish Oil because we don't own it. We only own the tax sale certificate.
Now, whether he's not relating it accurately, I don't know. My intent in calling the council, and I called all 4 members as well as the manager that day, in saying that that this gentleman, who certainly is known in the community for owning property and conducting himself, not that I'm making a qualitative judgment on him, he had expressed an interest prior. I did not know that it was going to be a decision made ad hoc at a council meeting to sell it to one individual, and had been waiting for an auction to occur. Maybe it didn't occur to him to come to council meetings or call council members. probably should have. The fact is, I believe, as I did, and I think Mr. Clough did, that when you own these properties or have some custody of something, that it should be a competitive process, and then whoever the high bid is, we have to make a qualitative judgment. And, you know, this council, at one time when a gentleman bought some properties a couple of years ago, there was some discussion over whether he was a suitable landlord or not, and eventually that passed. We have to, you know, make a qualitative judgment on, you know, on all of this. To the best of my knowledge, when I related that to council members, they shared at least my feeling that it was worth bringing up again. And if it's the same vote, it's the same vote. But I think it should be. I think it should go to auction.
Change that evening through the course of the discussion that we had here at this in the council chambers. I think staff has always been open. What we don't do is necessarily get into sharing people's private information in a public session on who might be interested or not interested in a piece of property, because, you know.
Of course, I understand that. Just as you notice, I've been very careful to mention the second individual's name. I didn't do that, the mayor did, because I certainly understand that you do need to be careful.
Well, he wrote a letter to the council.
I understand that.
Right.
I'm just agreeing with the city manager that, yes, you do have to be careful when it comes to, number one, negotiations regarding a sale, number two, private business plans, number three.
That's why I didn't maybe bring all that information on the table.
But
I thought it could affect
and I
fairness
understand,
of-
and I certainly understand it. And you know, I recall, as the rest of you do, the night that we had the conversation a week ago, Mr. Bonner, a question was posed to him as to what his reuse plans were for the property, and he said, with all due respect, you know, I do have a reuse plan. It's in keeping with the zoning, and I don't want to say what it is. And I understood that because, again, it's a business plan. However, and maybe, you know, maybe all four of the folks up here are going to disagree, but to me, there's a big difference between making a statement, I've had 2 or 3 phone inquiries, versus, yes, I have a local business person that's well-known, that has done environmental work, that plans on bidding. And Mrs. Corvo, you can say that you don't need to share things with us because it's a private enterprise, and it is. And Mr. Mayor can also say that, you know, this needs to go to bid because it's the most fair process, and it is the most fair process in most circumstances. But, you know, with all due respect, Mr. Mayor, we have negotiated private sales of city-owned property. This is unique because it's not city-owned. We only own the tax sale certificate. I understand that. But it's the same concept. And 9 times out of 10, holding a public sale, a public auction, is the most fair way to go. But when you've got a property that we as a municipality won't take title to because it's got environmental issues, because it's sat unoccupied in a part of the city that's clearly a business section, because it's got issues, and we've got an individual that's willing to step up to the plate and say, I know it's got environmental issues, I'll deal with that, I will put a business there. To me, that's our goal, to work with an individual like that if we can. If we've got a property that's free of environmental issues, a property that we have clear title to, sure, let's send that to public sale, because then, of course, we're going to have all sorts of people that are willing to bid on it and let the best man win. But this was a unique circumstance. I don't like it being portrayed like we were trying to negotiate a sale quietly on the side. I mean, you know, it happened here in the public forum. It was covered by the media, and it seemed like
Who is saying that?
in the best interest.
But I don't think anyone is saying, or I haven't heard anyone say, that anything was negotiated on the QT. Obviously, this was something that came up at last Monday's meeting, and it was an amendment to a resolution that was
Yes, it
on the
was.
agenda,
Yes, it was.
and it had come out on the previous Friday. I don't think there, you know, if you're going to have private sales on everything that's a tax sale certificate, I suppose you could negotiate agreements with a variety of people, and then the council votes for the one they like the best.
No, Mr. Mayor, I don't think that's what I said, but if you want to turn my
No, I'm
words
not trying to
around.
turn anything around.
And I will tell you, in the 16 years you've been mayor, I am sure that you have voted, as
Oh.
I have, for a private sale, depending upon the circumstances. Each sale can be unique.
A private